It started like a whirlwind romance, the kind you only read about in novels or see in movies. He was charming, attentive, and made me feel like the most important person in the world. From the first date, I felt like I had met someone who truly understood me, someone who made me laugh in ways I hadn't in years. It felt effortless, like fate had brought us together. But looking back, I see the red flags I ignored, the subtle signs I should have noticed, the gut feelings I suppressed because I wanted so badly to believe in the fantasy. At first, everything was perfect. He would text me good morning and good night without fail, plan thoughtful surprises, and always made me feel like a priority. It was intoxicating. But slowly, that attention began to feel suffocating. If I didn't respond to his texts right away, he'd ask if something was wrong or if I was upset with him. At first, I thought it was sweet, proof of how much he cared. But soon, the questions turned into accusations. Why didn't you reply sooner? Who were you with? And when I tried to explain that I was just busy or distracted, his response was always the same: I just care about you so much. Is that a bad thing? It wasn't just the constant need for reassurance that began to weigh on me. He had a way of twisting every situation to make himself the victim. If I brought up something that upset me, he would turn it around and make it about how I didn't appreciate him enough. How I was being unfair, how I didn't understand everything he did for me. And each time, I would find myself apologizing, even when I had done nothing wrong. I started to believe that maybe I was the problem. Maybe I wasn't giving enough, loving enough, or patient enough. He was so convincing, so adept at shifting blame, that I doubted my own feelings, my own reality. I remember one night vividly. We had plans to go out for dinner, and I decided to wear a dress I loved. It wasn't anything too revealing, just something that made me feel confident. When he saw me, his face darkened. "Are you seriously wearing that?" he asked. At first, I thought he was joking. But then he added, "You're just trying to get attention, aren't you?" I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off, but the weight of his words settled on me. I changed into something else, something he approved of. And that became a pattern. Every time I wanted to wear something that made me feel good, I'd second-guess myself. Would he think it was too much? Would it start another fight? Slowly, I stopped dressing for myself and started dressing for his approval. My friends began to notice the change in me. They'd ask why I didn't come out as often or why I seemed quieter when I was with him. I'd make excuses, saying I was just tired or busy, but the truth was, I was afraid. Afraid that if I spent too much time with them, he'd accuse me of not prioritizing our relationship. Afraid that if I laughed too much with a male friend, it would lead to hours of arguments and tears. So, I distanced myself. I stopped going to girls' nights, stopped answering group chats, and before I knew it, I was isolated. He was my entire world, and I thought that's what love was supposed to feel like, consuming. All-encompassing, but love shouldn't feel like a prison. It shouldn't make you feel small, or question your worth, or constantly leave you on edge. I didn't realize that then. I thought the ups and downs were normal, that every relationship had its challenges. And every time I thought about leaving, he'd pull me back in with grand gestures and heartfelt apologies. He'd promise to change, to be better, to treat me the way I deserved. And for a little while, he would. The cycle would reset, and I'd convince myself that maybe this time would be different. One of the hardest parts of being in a toxic relationship is the way it warps your sense of reality. I started to believe that the good moments outweighed the bad, that his love was worth enduring the pain. He'd tell me how much he needed me, how I was the only person who truly understood him, how he couldn't imagine his life without me. And I clung to those words because I wanted to believe them. I wanted to believe that I could fix him, that our love could overcome anything, but the truth is, love isn't supposed to hurt. It's not supposed to make you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells or like you're not enough. It's not supposed to drain you or make you feel like you're losing yourself. And it took me far too long to see that. The breaking point came during one of our fights. It was over something small, something insignificant, but it escalated into a shouting match. He said things I never thought he was capable of saying, things that cut me to my core. And for the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't try to defend myself or make excuses for him. I just sat there, numb, as the realization washed over me: this wasn't love. This wasn't the kind of relationship I wanted or deserved. Walking away wasn't easy. It took months of building up the courage, of reminding myself that I deserved better. Even after I ended things, he tried to pull me back in. He'd send long messages apologizing, promising to change, begging for another chance. And for a moment, I'd feel the pull, the temptation to believe him. But then I'd remember the pain, the tears, the way I'd lost myself in trying to love someone who didn't truly love me in return. Healing from that relationship was a journey. I had to unlearn so many of the toxic patterns I'd internalized, rebuild my confidence, and reconnect with the people I'd pushed away. There were days when the loneliness felt unbearable, when I questioned if I'd made the right choice. But with time, I began to see the light again. I began to see myself again. Looking back now, I'm grateful for the experience, as painful as it was. It taught me what love should and shouldn't be. It taught me the importance of boundaries, of self-respect, and of listening to my instincts. And most importantly, it taught me that I am enough, just as I am. To anyone who might be in a similar situation, I want you to know this: you are not alone, and you are not to blame. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to choose yourself. Love should uplift you, not tear you down. It should bring you joy, not pain. And if you're in a relationship that makes you feel less than, know that there is a better love out there, one that starts with loving yourself.